Hey, Captain of my soul. Um, so I have I have been trying to YouTube going live has what's up, Tammy? Uh, we used to use Google Hangouts. I don't know if you guys ever paid attention to that, but we would use Google Hangouts to go live, and as of August, early, just August 1st, I think even, um, they disabled the use of Google Hangouts with YouTube. So I had to figure out this whole, and I'm the biggest tech idiot that there is. I can't barely even get my phone to work. I mean, put it this way, I still have an iPhone 7 Plus. So, it's all I need. So I don't really follow the tech stuff too much. So in order to go live here, I had to download this software, and that software, I have to like take a code, copy and paste a code from YouTube and go on. It's to somebody who's computer savvy, it's probably extremely simple. But for me, it was a big pain in my butt because I just kept messing certain things up. And I tried to go live last night, um, and then by the time I figured it out, it was like 4 in the morning, and then I gave it a shot, but but anyway, uh, I am glad to be back, and I'm glad to be talking to you guys again. And I had Florida Keys Amy. I had a fantastic time on that cruise. Um, this is a funny thing. I'm I'm about to turn 44, and I grew up in South Florida, and I've seen cruise ships many times, but I have never actually been on one, and and it was just a pure miracle and blessing that I got to do this, because a an old girlfriend, who I always remained friends with, she she does very well for herself, and she uh, out of nowhere, just called me up and asked me if I wanted to go on a cruise. And, I laughed about it. And she said she had an extra spot, you know. And I got along with her kids really well too. So they were really excited about me going. And I was really excited about spending time with them again. And so, yeah, so this cruise, this all inclusive 7 day cruise to St. Martin, to San Juan, Puerto Rico, to Haiti. It was pretty incredible. Um, I did things that I never ever thought that I would get to do, and I got to do those things, and it was really cool. Um, I went snorkeling in Haiti on a snorkeling excursion. That was extremely interesting and extremely fun. Um, I never thought I would ever get to do that either. And so, yeah, it was fantastic. Um, it was relaxing. I ate a lot. There was a formal night or two formal nights, and I had a suit, and it was really crazy how this whole thing fell into place. 'Cause she was married, and her ex husband apparently was the same size as me, and he left behind like this really expensive designer suit, and he was like exactly the same size as me. So I wore this, and took all these formal pictures there, and it was just it was quite an experience. But yeah, so I wonder how everybody here's doing, man. I realize this is not probably the best time to go on, but I figured I'd make it a short one since I've had all these technical difficulties and everything. But uh, it seems like we should be doing okay from here on out. So again, sorry for the for the difficulties, but I one thing I'm gonna go ahead and address it now. Um, One thing that really, I mean, I'm watching the news today even, and some jackass decided to walk into a Walmart somewhere in Missouri, I believe it was, uh, and with a bulletproof vest, body armor, and an AR-15, and apparently all he did was just kind of fucking walk around, you know, like he just walked around like ominously through the Walmart, and somebody pulled the fire alarm. I think. I don't know. I only saw one little news story, and people were talking, so I couldn't really. But it was uh, you know, and coming back from vacation and having this great time, and I had no cellular signal. You know, we were out in the middle of the ocean. The Wi-Fi on the boat was extra and super expensive, so I wasn't going to do that. Hey, Sylvia. Um, and you know, I just didn't hear about anything. Um, and it it uh, it was really to hear four different incidents, uh, you know, within the same time frame was extremely unnerving. And here's the thing, you know, we're we're all sitting here wondering why someone would do something so awful. We're stuck on that, and yet there's there seem to have been a rash of them in this short span of time. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist much, you know. I mean, I think there's some truth to some of them, I'm sure, but I'm not that guy that overthinks things and comes up with these wild. I just don't do that. And I don't make wild accusations or anything like that. But uh, I don't believe in coincidences, and the only thing that I can imagine that makes sense to me as to why these things happened in the short span of time that they did in different major cities in the United States, and one in Canada, in Toronto. Um, I don't know much about tech, as I talked about earlier, but I know that there's a thing called the dark web, and it just, to me, it was too much of a coincidence for so many shootings to happen in such a short period of time. I mean, it was very 9/11 esque, with the different planes, um, and I don't think the government's behind it. I don't think, I have no reason to honestly believe that Trump and his people have anything to do with it. There's nothing like that going through my head. I'm simply thinking that there's a network of people who talk on social media in closed social media groups like many of us do on Facebook, but in the dark web where it can't be traced, and it can't be, and I don't know a lot about the dark web. Uh, so, but I know it's a very real thing, and I don't think that it is a fabrication of anyone's imagination. It is a very real thing. It is out there. The dark web is a thing, and uh, people are using it to do illegal things. And so another thing that I saw on the news today was President Trump discussing and some tweets that he said. I can't quote them verbatim, but some tweets where he was talking about uh, making sure that people with mental health issues. This is very broad because there's no written law about this yet. This is just an idea that he's come up with or that he thinks that he's exclusively come up with, but it's been thought of before many times. So, yeah, it's been thought of before many times to make sure that people with mental health issues cannot legally purchase a firearm. Uh, so I have a couple of issues with that, and I'm going to go ahead and discuss that a little bit. Um, Here's my thing: in all of these different cities, when these shootings happens, and it would happen, and I don't know all the absolute details of the incidents. I've only read news articles about them. You know, and not more than once. I just read them and was disgusted and just kind of sat here and pondered on it as much as I could. And um, my issue is how to get to the bottom of it. And as far as gun control, um, ultimately, I am not a believer in gun control. I do not. I believe in everybody's right to bear arms. As a matter of fact, I think in this day and age, everybody should. Uh, and that is, I realize that's a controversial opinion, uh, but that's how I feel about it. And the funny thing is I'm not completely against the idea of regulating the law, or making laws in order to regulate uh, certain people from getting guns. Um, if it were up to me, you know, everybody in those cities, if they were carrying a gun, you know, that those shooters wouldn't have lasted. Not it would have saved lives. They might have gotten somebody, but it would have saved lives. Somebody would have taken him down. You know, somebody would have taken them down fast. One of them I think they did. Uh, but this is this to me is just the way that things are going, and uh, that's how I feel about that. But um, I'm a realist. I mean, I was just discussing with my buddy. It's funny that Texas is an open carry state, as far as I know. So why wasn't everybody carrying? And I've never lived in Texas. I don't know many people from Texas, but it seems to me that uh, it seems to me that if you live in an open carry state, why not use it? You know, I don't think it's going to incite violence because most people are rational people. Just the fact that they feel uneasy about walking around with a gun at their hip, you know, that tells me that the majority of people are good people. They don't feel comfortable with the idea of hurting anyone. So I think that if those type of people responsibly took some gun training, uh, you know, took on some gun training and then decided to carry a weapon for the sake of protecting themselves and their neighbor, then we're living in a pretty good place. That's my opinion. And yes, you're right, Sylvia, that El Paso was ranked one of the safest cities. Very low, uh, very low crime rate, murder rate. Right. I understand that argument, Sylvia, that you didn't feel the need to carry, and that's my point. Actually, I'm speaking in your defense, honestly, because I think that people who don't feel the need to carry, ironically, are the best people that to be carrying, because I don't think that any one of those people would actually just let someone die in that manner, an innocent person, if they were right there to witness it. I have that kind of faith in mankind. I have that kind of faith in my fellow, in my peers, and in my, the people in my environment. So I don't. But here's the thing: I'm a realist, and that's probably not going to happen. More than likely, not going to happen. Uh, so you know, I'm flexible when it comes to my opinions on these things. As a temporary solution, yes, absolutely, you should do background checks on people for mental health. But here's the thing: I am for that as a secondary, as a temporary, as a temporary treatment to a current problem that we need to get to the bottom of, which we probably will never get to the bottom of. But I'd rather focus on the mental health issue rather than the issue of people with mental health issues getting guns. So, as a temporary solution, or a temporary treatment, I should say, um, okay, sure, make sure to disarm them, because when you're treating somebody with mental health issues, what do? You disarm them. You they have to be in a very vulnerable state so that you can treat them properly, especially if they're violent. Um, so, hey, Ming Don, haven't seen you in forever. That's my fault. But yeah. So, right. I think uh, that's where we need to put our focus. That's where we need to put our energy. I'm okay with a temporary treatment to the problem, but uh, as long as it's that and the focus is on the real problem, which is clearly the mental health problem in this country that uh, there's not enough focus on. So um, I'll probably talk a little bit more about that tonight. Um, but I just wanted to be clear about that and how I feel about it now that I'm not quite as like I'm in the anger phase. You know what I mean? I'm not so much as in the I'm always going to be sad about things like that happening. You know, but it's more of a yeah. See, okay, here we go. Sylvia, you're saying if I get to read the manifesto, I can read a well-articulated kid in his right mindset. In this in this specific case, I do not think it's a mental health issue. I think was more of an extremist issue. Yeah, but doesn't it take somebody who's a bit fucking wacky to be an extremist? That's my, you know, I'm not a doctor, so that's not a medical uh, diagnosis, but it's not a professional diagnosis, but that's I think it's fair to say. You know what I mean? Anybody. I mean, people who are right-minded aren't going around being extremists. So you know, to feel that passionate about hatred, that's a mental health disorder. In my opinion, it's clearly a mental health disorder. Somebody who's that passionate about hatred over something that doesn't make any sense. I mean, people who talk about immigration, man, people who talk about immigration like it's a problem, you know, okay, they should follow the law, I guess, right? You know, get into the country legally, follow the right steps to get into the country legally. But to get pissed off because there are people moving to this country from another country is completely asinine because that is what literally every single nationality or race that lives in this country, except for the Native Americans, have migrated here, or families have migrated here. So it's ridiculous to even use that argument. But second, to sit there and say that the what taking away your job, this is fucking America. You're telling me that in America you can't get a better job than digging ditches or picking fucking fruit out of a fucking farm field? You're telling me you can't get a better job than that? So you're blaming someone for coming to the country and taking what they can get and what they know how to do, and you're getting mad because they're coming in because we have something to offer them when all you have to do is offer something better for yourself. So no, I don't have a I don't agree with the type of uh, thing that's going on with I don't think that anyone who thinks that immigrants are coming to the country and are somehow a threat to their well-being is ridiculous to me. I mean, how many other lives have I done about accountability? You're accountable for yourself. What did the rich people do? They put them to work at a cheap rate. You know, that's what they do. They put them to work like they're in a sweatshop, right? Because they can pay them less. You know, because they can pay them less. So, I mean, it's funny. I find it ironic that a lot of the same people who benefit from this, whose businesses benefit from this, are 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 so against uh, immigrants being in their country. They're their bread and butter. Modern day slaves. You know, just they're not slaves because technically they get paid, right? But people talk about, oh, they're putting me out of work. Man, find something fucking better. Find something better. That's it. You know, I I got my GED. But I've always worked. I've always worked. No matter what, I'll work any fucking job. I don't give a shit. I'll work any job that you give me. So, I mean, what's the problem with that? If somebody comes to this country and they see America, I live in I grew up in South Florida, you know, and then there was the whole, you have idiots that are like, oh man, Cubans coming to this country. Man, I don't know a Cuban that moved to Miami under whatever means and didn't absolutely make the best of it, you know. most of them became business owners. You know what I mean? Because they had an opportunity. They had an opportunity and they took it. So you got too many people bitching and moaning about the lack of opportunities in this country instead of creating opportunities for themselves, which it's not that, it, it's not a difficult concept to come up with. Now, I haven't done it, but just recently, honestly, have I really adopted this attitude and this outlook? So, you know, I mean, opportunity just doesn't create itself. It just doesn't. And to complain about someone taking a job from you that's not even, you know, there's there's almost no way to go but up on those kind of jobs. And let me tell you something. I lived for a few months before I lived here. I lived in uh, this small trailer park uh, in Georgia, right? Now, this small trailer park was predominantly Mexican, right? But here's what I saw on a daily basis living there. And this is the fucking truth. What I saw there on a daily basis was the men and they all drive pickup trucks, right? And the men, they got up really early in the morning. A bunch of them carpooled to the same job, but you could tell they were working some type of labor or construction job, all of them. And they'd all get up, they'd all be gone by like 8 in the morning, right? Or by like 7, and then the kids, the kids, the bigger kids would walk in a group to the bus stop, the smaller kids with their parents or their brother and sister, and the uh, the women would generally, I'm sure some of them had jobs, but the women would generally just kind of hang out at each other's house. One would go here, and then the other one would go to their house. They'd always, a bunch of them on their porches, but the same group of women, same groups of women all over the neighborhood doing the same thing. And in the afternoon, and I'm telling you, this is all 100% true. In the afternoon, kids were outside when they got home from school, and they were riding bikes, and they were playing with toys, and they were pretending to be superheroes, and playing tag and all that kind of shit. The kind of stuff I did as a kid, right? And this was refreshing to me. This was refreshing to me. And on weekends, they would all get together and cook. It'd be like, a potluck type thing where they would all kind of just get together and cook and eat, all of them as a family. Now, here's the funny thing about that. That that view from people who, uh, you know, those extremists, uh, as Sylvia put it, these people who have such a hard time with immigration, the kind of guy that, uh, you know, who did this thing in El Paso, and it all stems from that one speech where Donald Trump is saying, oh, well, they bring drugs and they rape women and blah, 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 blah. I mean, that was some dumb shit for him to say. And then, it got people's wheels rolling. And, you know, people who already thought this stuff. And, you know, now here's the thing, I want to be clear. I don't blame politicians for racism or these things that are going on in the country. I blame them for other things. But, this is not one of those things that I think it's fair to blame politicians for. Again, this is one of those things I'm always talking about accountability, man. You know, you're responsible for your own fucking actions. So I'm not blaming Donald Trump's speech for that. I'm just saying this is the kind of thing that idiots and crazy people hear, no matter who it comes from, and then it gets their wheels turning, and then they start, it starts to snowball and become a crazier idea after another crazy idea. And, you know, this guy, that kind of extremism, is a complete and total lack of rationality. It's completely irrational because the idea that of make America great again, right? Isn't the idea of make America great again uh, the thing you picture, you're supposed to picture when he says that is, white picket fences, you know, uh, dad who gets up in the morning, goes to work, housewife, mom, hangs out with the other housewives, kids are playing outside, they're not sitting in front of a TV, in front of video games, right? So isn't it ironic that the predominantly Mexican neighborhood that I lived in for so many months was exactly the image. The only difference is it was they were poor. They didn't have a lot. A lot of the reason why they did this was because they simply didn't have a lot. Everybody has their own luxuries that they're caught in the own four walls of their small apartment or big house, whichever one. But they've got internet and they've got, their cell phones and they've got their PS4s and their Xboxes and and people are just zoned out into their own thing and detached from people. And I find it ironic that these people who get up in the morning and contribute and they work these construction jobs and and they live up to these core family values that America is supposed to be about, supposed to be the backbone of America, are these core values that I saw these people living every day, and yet there's a problem with them living here. See, that doesn't make any sense to me. So that's how I feel about immigration, and that's how I feel about the people who who have a problem with it. Is you've gone and created this image because the only difference between them and anybody else is they were poor and they were brown. You know, I mean they're and I'm sure they all had cell phones. I'm sure the grown-ups have cell phones. Everybody has a cell phone now. You know, I don't think the kids did, but most kids today have cell phones too. But here we are bitching and moaning about our kids with their faces buried in their phones, and here they are playing outside, using their imagination, following the example of their dads and their moms, breaking their backs just to make sure that there's food on the table, and then having this great appreciation and gratitude for these huge, hot, Latin American meals that sit on their table. That's what they work for, man. That's the stuff that they work for. Is to have nice, big, fat meals. It's amazing. It's beautiful. So, ironically, right now, the kid is living his worst nightmare and biggest fear. He was captured by Hispanic cops in a jail full of Hispanics eating food prepared by Hispanics and will be judged. Right. That's a valid, interesting point. And I bet you he's loving the food. You know what I mean? Because who the fuck doesn't love that food? It's so good, right? I mean, it's so good. Rice and beans, fucking meat cooked all kinds of different ways. It's fantastic. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of fried plantains, but people love that shit. You can cook plantains in so many different ways. Man, it's so good. I don't know. But I'm gonna be wrapping this up. Uh, I just kind of wanted to uh, express my feelings on certain issues currently, and I'm glad it was a small chat, honestly, because I realized I was saying some pretty uh, different things than a lot of people. Oh, thanks, Sylvia. That's really sweet of you to say. Um, but yeah, I I wanted to keep this a short one, and maybe people will catch it on playback if they want. And I just um, I'm gonna go ahead and call it because I'm going to. I've got to go work out. Man, I spent a week. That's man. When I vacationed, okay, I fucking vacationed. All right. I don't really drink when I'm not here. You know, when I'm here, I mean, when I'm home, I don't really drink much at all. Uh, and but my alcohol tolerance is fantastic, right? Because I used to drink quite a bit, and on this cruise, there was a drink package where uh, I um, could get any drink I wanted, basically, the entire cruise on the ship. And even on the island, what was cool, the island in Haiti, well, I'm not sure it was, I mean, Haiti is the island, but the resort area that we went to in Haiti when we docked was owned by Royal Caribbean as well. So there was all this area to like shop and drink and lay out at the beach. And it was beautiful. Haiti was beautiful. I've been to the other side of the island in the Dominican Republic, but I mean, we didn't really go into the city of Haiti, and just the area that we were in was paradise. And and yes, Tristan, I my man, I gained like 6 pounds on this trip, dude. Like yeah, because okay, they had a gym on the ship, right? And the first day, that we're on the ship, I go look for the gym. And I worked out some, right? But then, man, once I started eating and drinking, you know, I mean, yeah, I had a drink in my hand the whole time, you know, and I was happy as hell, you know. I mostly hung out with, I mostly hung out with my ex's son, who's 18, and he's a Marine, and he's such a straight shooter. It was just a really positive experience hanging out with this kid, um, because he's just so focused on self improvement, you know, uh, and this stuff that I'm recently trying to embrace and do myself for myself. He's doing it at 18, so he's kind of the person that I wish I was at 18. You know what I mean? Uh, not that I'm just thinking, it's too late. Well, I'm actually, that's the opposite. I'm not, I'm the guy that says it's never too late. So this is me doing the same thing he's trying to do, but he's got more opportunities because he's 18, which is awesome. Whereas he's got different opportunities. I shouldn't say he has more opportunities. He has different opportunities that make things really, gonna make things really go well for him. And I have no doubt in my mind that he's gonna do fantastic. I mean, he's going to do amazing, amazing things. Because he's very, very, very intelligent, very, very, very driven. Um, and 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 I spent a little bit of time with her daughter, who's 14. Now this kid is astonishing, man. She is uh, absolutely fascinating because she's a genius. She's a genius. Like when I say genius, I'm talking like the kind of genius that they that they actually describe. Uh, I'm not just saying she's a smart kid, and I'm exaggerating it. She's definitely a genius in the truest sense of the word, and um, so she's incredible to sit there and talk to and hang out with, um, and have conversations with. Uh, this girl is also gonna dominate whatever she decides to do. Um, she's she's been a vegan by choice since the age of 11. So you know, and I remember I dated her mom when she was 11, and she was totally vegan, and I thought that was pretty impressive. I'm not vegan. I went vegetarian for a couple of years, try it out. So I know as much. I all I know is that it takes a hell of a lot of self discipline um, to have a strict diet, no matter what it is. So for her to be vegan and to be absolutely resilient about it is extremely commendable at her age and absolutely respectable of a person of any age. So uh, we're also talking about a kid who at that same age, her older brother was taking calculus in school, and he was having a hard time with it. He figured it out. He's a smart kid, super smart kid too. Um, but the story goes that she started doing the calculus and she loved it. And then when she found out shortly after uh, doing her brother's calculus uh, that she couldn't take calculus in elementary school, she cried about it. So she, so we're talking about a person who has real, um, a lot of beauty and doesn't really know how to harness it because she's at a very awkward age. It's fascinating when you see somebody who is very intelligent, but they lack wisdom and uh, they don't know themselves yet. They're still figuring themselves out. You know, that's got to be really hard. That's got to be a hard thing to manage, being that intelligent, being more intelligent than most people you know, if not all everybody you know, um, and then having to manage that along with coming into your body and uh, understanding your own mind and understanding your emotions and learning how to control your emotions and so on and all the complications that come with being a 14-year-old kid, you know. So it was incredible to talk to her, because I mean all I could tell her was, you know, I get it. I don't I can't sympathize because I'm not nearly as smart as you. I'll never be that smart, you know. But I get it. It's got to be a difficult thing to manage. I told her she was like she's like a superhero who hasn't figured out how to harness and use her power, and control it yet. That's all that is, That's all it is. She's like a mutant at the beginning of an X-Men movie, you know. So, hey, Sonny, yeah, I'm back. Yeah, I'm pretty sure my technical difficulties are gonna be over soon. But yeah, I'm gonna talk more about my vacation because I've actually got to get going. I've got to get my stuff together and head out to work. But I'm gonna go ahead and leave this up. Uh, I didn't really prepare for it. I was more focused on learning the software because the minute that I got it figured out, then I went on and it was like 4 in the morning and there was nobody on. And then I went on like 2 or 3 hours ago and nobody logged on. So I was like, all right, well, but I was just really anxious to use this software and see how you guys reacted to it to see if it sounds any better or worse. Um, this software is really cool because it also allows me to it's going to allow me to upload pictures. Trying to figure out how to upload music. Um, and again, I'm not tech savvy at all, so this is all like new to me. And so the stuff that seasoned YouTubers have been doing, I'm just now figuring out how to do. So I appreciate everybody's patience and understanding that I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Um, but I'm learning, and it's pretty fun actually. So yeah, I should be able to like upload videos. Um, and this is definitely an upgrade in my opinion, um, from the Google Hangouts and the way the lives were going before. Um, as you can see, I was still able to upload my ugly mug there. But the problem, unfortunately, is it takes up your whole fucking screen now instead of just a little circle in the middle. So I apologize for that. Anyway, um, yeah, I'm gonna get going, and I'm gonna go work out, and then I'm gonna go to work, and I think I'm gonna come back on tonight. So, um, I love you guys very much, and thanks for logging on, and I appreciate your patience. I'm sorry I took so long, but yeah, we're gonna get back on track here. So, um, thanks a lot.